Have I ever made a move for less money? Yes, I have. I came home and I had a conversation with my wife, and I remember crying my eyes out saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I know for a fact somebody has done a in a pillowcase, right? And has turned the room upside down as well.
Normally it's the little things. One of the funniest things I saw at Southampton were actually little the right back.
Yeah.
Squared up to big
Yeah, no way.
Why would you even think that that's possible?
The harsh realities of football and being a professional footballer. Once again, we have asked you lot to get in touch with all of your burning questions. Everything you want to know the answers to, the intricacies of football. And we're actually pretty good at finding the answers to these as well, aren't we, Water?
I think that's why you've got me on board. You want the inside truth, reality, and the dirty knowledge.
Love it, the dirty knowledge, the dirty, honest truth. Tom, we've got some good questions as well, haven't we?
We have, yeah. The audience have come in clutch once more.
And once again, well done, you lot. We do appreciate it as well, because we know that you like these episodes. They are fantastic episodes for us to record as well. We really do get into the nitty gritty of all the little details.
First question. Have you ever made a move based purely on financial?
No.
So purely for wages?
No.
Have you ever made a move for less money?
Yes.
Have you really?
Yes. So
go on.
Never made a move based on finances. Probably just because it never actually came up. I wasn't lucky enough to be offered that sort of thing. But I would fully understand a player doing it for the money. I would fully understand a player taking a sideways step or even a backward step, knowing they're going to earn more money. Yeah, I think football is such a short career, and if you are one of those kind of like good players, but not necessarily good enough to get into one of the big boys, the top teams, then I don't blame you for doing it. I really don't.
So what about the Saudi League, for example?
Yeah. So
how much is enough money? So
yeah.
if a player's earning 60 grand a week in the UK,
yeah,
and he's set to earn, I don't know, another 20 or 30 grand more,
yeah,
like after tax and everything like that, is that greed? Is that
I
just
don't think
looking
it's
after
greed.
his own
The
interests?
thing is with Saudi, it's not even that. It's more like double, treble, quadruple your money. That's what we're talking when you go out to Saudi, and it's tax free. But the only problem that seems to keep arising from all of these deals and transfers to Saudi is everybody seems to go for 6 months, a year, and then you hear rumours of them coming back on loan or signing back here for some other different team. So there must be something about living out there that isn't compatible with Premier League players. There are plenty of cases of players that do go out there and do it, get their head down and work really hard for it, fair dues. But I genuinely will never begrudge anybody going out there and tripling, quadrupling their wages for playing for a Saudi team. With regards to have I ever made a move for less money? Yes, I have. Okay, so I left Manchester United, signed for Birmingham City. I think it was a £6 million transfer fee.
So at Birmingham, you were on about 30 grand a week?
Yeah, so signed for Birmingham City. I think I actually signed for 26, I can't remember, 26 or 28 grand a week or something like that at Birmingham City. We got relegated that first season. We won the League Cup. It was 2011, beat Arsenal, but then we also got relegated. And I did really well. I got player of the season, and I still wanted to play in the Premier League. Couple that with the fact that Birmingham, having got relegated, they realised they had to kind of cut their cloth a little bit, really. The high earners, which was me and a couple of us, they wanted to basically have a Salas and get some money, recoup some money, or send us out on loan on the proviso that if Birmingham were to get promoted the following season, then we'd go back. So I went out on loan to West Brom, and Dan Ashworth was the chief exec at West Brom at the time, and he was, oh my God, he was like Daniel Levy. I promise you, he was like Daniel Levy, drove the hardest bargain, yeah, wouldn't give you anything. And they knew I was desperate to get out on loan to play first team football in the Premier League, right? So I went from 28 grand a week at Birmingham City to playing for West Brom in the Premier League on 23, I think I went down to. I dropped down to 23 grand a week, and then they put a few more bonuses in there. But essentially, I was earning less money the season after for doing really well as well. But it all worked out in the end because then I obviously did very well at West Brom. I ended up signing a 4-year contract with them. Wages went back up to, well, in excess of what I was on at Birmingham. So it kind of worked out in the end.
You can see why players either end up, Premier League quality players, end up staying in the Championship then, can't you? Because they don't want to take that backward step, or out of principle they go, no, I'm under contract here.
The thing that people don't ever often talk about is relegation clauses in contracts as well. There's, you look at the Premier League right now, you've got West Ham down at the bottom there, you've got Nottingham Forest down at the bottom there, and you've got players on £100,000 a week at these teams, yeah? And I guarantee you, West Ham and Nottingham Forest will have relegation clauses in their players'
It's a lot more common now, though, isn't it, Watto?
Yeah, no, the Southampton contract I were on, but I know the players were all the same. If you got relegated, it was 33%.
33% drop. Yeah. When I got relegated from West Brom, I had a 60% drop.
Did you?
I got 60%. So I obviously went and signed for Watford, but
I don't blame you.
If I would have got relegated and stayed with West Brom, I would have gone down. I would have dropped 60% of my wages and been playing in the Championship. And virtually every other team will have at least a 25%.
Yeah,
probably more commonly is about a 50% wage decrease if you get relegated.
Wow, okay.
This episode is presented by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Everyone thinks they're a Premier League psychic, but now you can actually prove it with Coke Zero's Guess the Goals. All you've got to do is grab a Coke Zero, scan the QR code, and guess how many match week goals are going to be scored in total. If you guess correctly, you'll be entered into a prize draw with 1,000 official Premier League footballs to be won every week. T&Cs apply. See coke.co.uk/plgoals-terms.
Right, I've got a question for you, Watto, and then for you, Ben. Same question. Really, really good question. What's the hardest conversation you've had in your career that you've had to have with somebody, either as a player or a coach?
I think the hardest conversations I've ever had, it's not necessarily dropping a first-team goalie, because there would have been days or weeks leading up to it, and you're having conversations behind the scenes that we've got to step up a bit, X, Y, or Z. I think the hardest conversation is when you've had a young kid in the building, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6 years, or they've come through a longer period of time, and you've done your best, they've done their best, but it's the brutal realisation that you're not going to make it at our football club, and letting them go, because it's a very, very tough game, football, and it's a very difficult game to try and make it at whatever level you're operating at. And when you pull the rug from underneath a kid who's given everything but just hasn't attained the level, and you look in their eye and tell them that is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
and for parents being involved in that as well, because they hope and dream of what we talk about, Premier League wages, Champions League, international caps, but not every player or goalies I dealt with were ever going to get to the level. I hoped that we could give them enough to maybe drop down to a level that they found comfortable. But when you release a young player, I think that's the hardest one, because I know the PFA have got involved now, and there's a lot more help mentally and psychologically around it. But even though I would have helped to try and get them to a trial at a club or things like that, the support wasn't there years gone by. Where now I think the PFA have really stepped up, because a lot of kids, that moment is life-changing.
Well, yeah, they've pinned everything on it, don't they? Have you ever seen a player let go for them to bounce back and have an unbelievable career?
In the goalies wise, no.
Really?
No, I haven't, no. Not one that's... I'm not saying they've not gone on and forged a pathway in a career, but nobody's ever...
Gone to bigger and better.
Had the drop down and really re-established themselves and got back up to a level. And I think that's the brutality of the game, that I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass, but when you don't attain a certain level, the slope becomes very steep and drops off quickly unless you have got a certain capability mentally and psychologically.
It's an interesting question, that, because I've seen quite a few along the way where I never saw that they would probably go on to bigger things. I mean, when I was at Man United, we had Tom Heaton was there with me. Obviously, didn't work at Man United, but went off to then go and do really great things.
Good career.
England appearances. Sam Johnson, young lad, Didn't know if he'd ever make it. Left Manchester United, went on to be a Premier League goalkeeper. But there was a young lad at Man United called Ron Robert Zieler. Okay,
Yeah, I remember him.
young German goalkeeper. He was nowhere near it. Nowhere near the first team. Nowhere near like even the reserves. He'd never really even played for the reserves. And I remember he struggled in training quite a lot. He left, went back home to Germany, played for a German team, managed to get into the Bundesliga. He was the goalkeeper when Germany won the World Cup. The third choice goalkeeper, sat on the bench. He's got a World Cup winners medal for Germany. It is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So I love the question and I love the answer from what I know. It is brutal for young lads, but I think sometimes if you've got it within you and you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to go and get it.
So what's the hardest conversation you cast your mind back you've ever had in your career? Is it with another player, a manager, what?
No, I think mine was probably the big turning point in my career, really, was when I left Manchester United, actually. So I remember playing a game, and it was against, I know the game, I remember the game. Sunderland had a stinker. I absolutely had a stinker. It was the one where Kenwyne Jones challenged me, absolutely bullied me, headed
Was
it
it
in.
just that moment, or was the game bad for you?
No, it was that moment.
I was going to say.
I was in a bad place anyway. I wasn't really enjoying myself or my football. I was still a young man. I didn't really understand where I was or what my place in this world was yet. And I remember playing this game. I got absolute hair dried from the manager, Alex Ferguson, after the game. And I came home and I had a conversation with my wife, and I remember crying my eyes out saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I can't do it. I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, it's too much for me.
And how old were you then?
Mid-20s I'd have been.
You'd been 24, 25.
25. And I remember saying, it's too much for me. It's too much. I can't deal with it. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm on the football pitch because there's too much pressure and it's taking control over my body. I remember having this conversation with her and I was crying my eyes out. But then that in itself flipped itself to the point where I got it into my head, actually, vocalising it to my wife. And then that got me to a place where I accepted that I wanted to leave. So that a couple months later, had a conversation with the manager and he said, listen, I think it's best for all parties if you actually do leave. If you go out, Birmingham City have made a bid for you.
Are you still hungry to play football, though?
Oh, I wanted to play football, dying to play football. But I think if you'd have been able to have a conversation with me or an interview with me at that moment in time, you'd watch it back and you'd go, oh my God, you're like a shell of a man.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Do you know what I find
shell of a man.
interesting is people always say, you've got to have a certain mentality to play for these clubs and stuff. And forgive me if I'm wrong with you, I think you develop that mentality.
Much later
But it was later. So I do think that if you were 28, 29...
It's a different time,
I think that could have been the right place for you.
It could have been the right place for me, yeah, for sure. I totally agree. But it definitely wasn't at that moment in my life. We'd just had kids. Everything was changing.
But very difficult for any younger player to go on the dance floor at Old Trafford
and look at how Ben came through as well. You weren't at academies. You weren't conditioned within football clubs. Yeah. So actually you were just thrown into it. Like that journey from Stoke and being on loan at Wrexham and then Man United, that was a whirlwind.
And I had the biggest boots in the world to fill with Edwin van der Sar as well. It was impossible, honestly. But like I say, it turned me into actually understanding that I did need to leave and then signing for Birmingham City, moving back home so I was closer to friends and family. Honestly, I felt like this. Oh, the weight had lifted. I felt freer. I felt happy. And the season at Birmingham City, like I say, even though we got relegated, we won the League Cup. Personally, on a personal note, I had a great season, Player of the Year. My career really started from that point onwards.
Do you know the one player that left United? And I remember at the time when he left, and I thought that might come back to bite them in the bum, was Dean Henderson.
Yeah, Dean,
when he left, I think when he spoke to us, he said there was some promises made that he'd get his chance, but I don't think, was there ever a doubt, Watto, over his quality?
So I went and met Dean Henderson and his representatives. I think I met him at the Belfry. I can't be 100% sure.
You'd probably just got out of the Bel Air nightclub, hadn't you?
Oh, mate, no, very professional at that time. But yeah, obviously he were still under contract at Man United. I'd been and watched him play for Shrewsbury. We were a Premier League club, and I always wanted to try and find the best young English talent to, fill in and play in the Premier League. And I thought he would have been a good fit for Southampton at that point, but he was still trying to find his feet. And it's a difficult thing to leave Man United, a very difficult thing when you believe that you've got the capabilities both physically and mentally to play. And he believed he could play in goal for Man United, which is an amazing thing to have.
Which is why it was he was a good fit because he had the confidence, didn't he?
Yeah.
Would one of the proudest thing of being a coach, Watto, for you, would it be unearthing that goalkeeper and really putting your neck on the line at whatever club you're at and saying, this is the kid we need to sign?
Yeah.
And that kid signs and then he goes on to be whatever he goes on to be.
I think I worked in a time in football where that's how the job was for me. Our goalie coach, my job was to get you fit, strong, psychologically right, mentally right, obviously right on the training ground, but the recruitment were all me. Obviously, look, the powers that be sign the checks, managers finally sign it off, but I were never overly questioned. Obviously, a manager says, this right, is that right? But it was down to me.
But
so
you had that power, though. Yeah? So they trusted you, and you had that power to be able to call those shots and say, no, this is the goalie we need to be signing.
And that's why I loved the job, because that autonomy gave me a connection with you, gave me a connection with whoever else before it and after it. It were all me. I think the job of the goalie coach now, the role itself is the same, but your power within it is very much diluted.
Is there still goalie coaches in the Premier League that have that power, that had the power that you have?
No, I don't think so.
That's gone now?
I think that's gone.
Do you think that's gone for every Premier League team?
I would say so, yeah.
That's never really been the case with the big boys, has it? The big boys would always have multiple people, scouts all over the place that would be picking and choosing who the goalkeeper is going to be. The goalie coach would very rarely have the final say. But Watto, he was at the perfect club and he was the perfect guy at his moment in his career, England goalkeeper coach, where they trusted him implicitly enough to say, okay, if that's what you think is going to be good enough, we'll go for it.
Well, let's be honest, he knows better, doesn't he?
He does.
So
Simple as that.
trusting
it should be trusting
people in position.
Because I think the big part of identifying the goalkeeper is the eye test.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You can look at all the stats you want, you can. And some stats you can skew them in whatever favour you want to skew them. But the eye test, ultimately, for me, is the big thing which makes me go, you've got it, and I can see you've got it.
Yeah, and I think that's where a Man United, whether we liked him, loathed him, or whatever your opinion on Onana, I know the two guys who work and still work in the scouting department as goalie scouts for Man United, and he wasn't even on the radar. So who signs
Onana for Manchester United?
Ten Hag wanted him.
That's how does a football club then give that much power to a manager to say, right, I know it's not your remit and goalkeeping isn't your area of expertise, but we're going to trust you implicitly, yeah?
But ultimately, the goalie coach doesn't have the power anymore. It'll still come down to a manager and a sporting director. Hey, look, if you've got a list of 4 or 5 and it's one of them and I'm the goalie coach, then at least you're involved in that process.
You can weigh in on it a bit.
But when you just get a random one like that or certain other deals that can pop up, that is not being diligent on your approach. But if you haven't got the autonomy, then it's very hard to be critical of the goalie coach and the work he then produces with him, because you can't very often make a silk purse out of a sow's ear.
Can't polish a turd, basically.
Correct.
I think when you talked about Sir Alex Ferguson over the years, one of my favourite kind of anecdotes was his very last game, because he picks up on everything. He sees everything. Stephen Fletcher told us recently that he was driving in Glasgow and Sir Alex Ferguson pulled up and was like, basically wound down the window, "Oh, how you doing, son?" and all this lot. And Fletcher was absolutely buzzing. So
he said he was shitting himself, actually. He said I was buzzing, but shitting myself.
But he had his ear to the ground like nobody, didn't he? And tell us what he said to you in the tunnel, like on your final game. It's just a little nice touch.
Yeah, it was like, so last game, West Brom, you remember it, the famous 5-5.
Yeah.
Big Romelu Lukaku, come on, got a trick. Just walking out through the tunnel, I remember seeing him, and he just looked at me and said, "Really good to see you doing well, mate. Really good to see you doing well."
Did that make you feel 10 feet tall?
Yeah, 10 feet tall from the big man. Come on, the OG, the legend. That was lovely, but that was him in a nutshell, really. It's nice though when you have managers nowadays. They're different. Football's different in general, but managers are different. They haven't got that connection with the club anymore. They're not there long enough to live and breathe it anymore, are they? It's completely different.
And how difficult on the other end of your career? How difficult was the conversation you had to have with Phil Parkinson when, I think it was after the Swindon game, was it?
Yeah.
Then you got popped. Were you nervous?
Yeah, double nervous. Yeah, but obviously I've gutted that I just let 5 goals in at the same time though.
So you were going in to tell him after 5 games?
Yeah, 5 games, but my legs were gone, honestly. There were 3 goals in that game, right, where I'm diving for them, Watto, and I'm thinking I'm saving it, yeah? There's no worse feeling as a goalkeeper diving for a ball, knowing you're going to get a touch on it, and you're basically making the calculations in your head about how much of a touch you want to get on the ball. You want to get a little bit, just enough to get it around the post, or do you want to get a massive palm on it? Can I get a massive palm on it to actually just bring it down and stop it, right? They're the intricacies you're normally dealing with, right? So when you're actually going for it and you're trying to make these calculations in your head and then you don't even touch the ball, right? Massive, red, alert. And that was what was going off in my head. So 3 of them went in where I'm diving from and not even touching them, and I just thought, you know what, I cannot do this. I'm letting everybody down.
So after just a few games of the season, was Phil Parkinson surprised? Or?
He was surprised, yeah, he was very surprised, and he was like, you need to think about it. I said, no, I don't. I promise you I don't. I promise you I do not need to think about it. I know the moment is now. The time has come, all right? And that was that. And I think even then I rung him, like say, a couple of days later, and he knew. And he was fine.
Yeah, look, I mean, I never got to that point, but I spoke with goalies and players who got to that point. And I think when you've had such an amazing career, there's a level that you want to stop at where you've felt as though you're doing yourself justice, you know. And when you've played at the very, very top and won international caps, you don't need a manager, a coach, or anybody to tell you, you know. Yeah, and I think it's just whoever you're closest to, it's one conversation just to reaffirm that everything's as is and it's finished.
Yeah. Well, what age were you when you retired from football, Watto?
27.
And how big a decision, like, was that a decision that was taking care of itself because of your injuries? Or when you rewind that back now, how difficult was that for you?
Oh, look, mate, I got lost for a year, maybe 18 months. I obviously got injured at 23. I'd just signed a 3-year contract, I think I've said on this programme before. So financially and time-wise, I'd got a long time to try and get fit. I mean, I must have had 20 operations maybe, and fight and try to do so many things. And I should have never really tried to play a professional game, but because I kept breaking down in training at certain stages. But I wanted to say that I'd give it my best shot. I played a couple of reserve games, and honestly, I couldn't move for days after. It was just impossible. But you kind of get to a point, like you've just said about finishing. I knew probably a year before I stopped that I was done, and that's probably when the darkest period of my life. And again, that's where you're not getting any psychological and mental support because you're fighting it yourself. And I didn't necessarily fight it the right way. Certainly weren't as professional as I should have been, but in my own head, I knew I was done.
Did you get an insurance payout for having to retire early through injury?
No, the companies all went bust. I got 15 grand off the PFA, which I think everybody got.
Wow. So, do you know what's really interesting is when a player's due to get a new contract or a new move or something like that, everybody is injured all the time, yeah? Everybody. They're always carrying stuff, aren't they?
Yeah,
some
sure.
Much worse than others. Some are really worried about stuff. But if you're up for a new contract or a renewal or a transfer, you will keep it so quiet. I promise you, you will keep it so quiet because you know the consequences of if this is unearthed and it's a big problem. Mate, it can stop everything. It will stop the new contract. It will stop the move. So you keep it as quiet as you need to, and you will do everything you can to put a brave face on it.
So you know when you're signing for a new club, you'll go for a medical, which isn't a pass and a fail. It's due diligence and it's advisory.
Yeah.
So like Kev at Wrexham, for example, will get someone in and they'll go, well, there's a bit of a niggle there, but I think we're kind of happy to go ahead and whatnot, and then it will ultimately be the manager's decision.
Yeah.
When you sign a new deal within the club, is there any due diligence done there or not? Because they know your history.
They know your history and they're very aware of it. But when you know you're coming up for that new contract, you, as soon as the first conversations take place, we're thinking about a new contract, you know you've got a time frame of a few months where before that actually gets signed and sealed and agreed, right? So in those few months, you will do everything you can, to make sure you are in tip-top condition.
And you're not in the physio room too often.
You do not go in the physio room. You do not get massages. You do not go in and moan about an achy this or a hurting this or an inflamed that. I remember getting new contracts and my right knee, I had 2 ACL reconstructions on my right knee. I've had multiple surgeries and clean outs and cartilage and all this kind of stuff. And I remember when they were talking about a new contract, man, he was in absolute turmoil. It was swelling all the time, right? So much so that I didn't want to go on the game ready, the icing machine at the stadium, at the training ground. I went and bought my own. I bought my own and had one at home.
About $4,000.
$4,000. So as soon as I got home, boom, straight on the icing machine. Straight on the icing machine. I put it on for 90 minutes. I couldn't even feel Minnie at the end of it, right? But then I'd strap it up as tight as I could just to try and stop any fluid getting back in there, right? And then I'd go in the next day. And then eventually, after like a couple of weeks, they'd even stop asking about my knee. How's your knee, Ben? That's fine.
Stop
Absolutely
asking,
fine.
it's fine.
Absolutely fine. No, don't worry, mate. I feel incredible. Because you know at some point, that chief exec or whoever's the one that's dealing with the contract, yeah, he will go and talk to the doctor. He'll talk to the doctor and he'll say, how's Ben at the minute? Is he fit? Has he got any worries or have you got any worries? And he'll go, do you know what? I don't even see him. He goes out to trains like an absolute cat, comes in, happy as Larry, fit as a fiddle, right? Brilliant.
What's
and he'll
that?
go,
Fit as a
perfect.
fiddle?
That's all I need to know.
But that's what the sporting director ultimately wants, because when he asked that question of the head physio and the doctor, if your comeback is very, very low maintenance,
Perfect. Thank you.
Couple of tick boxes, new contract on his way.
As well, this is interesting. When clubs are signing new players, all the players like to find out about him. What's he like? Or what's this guy like that we're going to be signing? Physios do the same thing, Physios, they have got this massive like black book of connections all around the country, all around the Premier League, different leagues. They find out straight away what that player is like. Is he high maintenance, or is he low maintenance?
Mate, I've heard this before.
The low maintenance players for physios, they're absolute gold. Honestly,
yeah, mate,
they're gold.
I've heard this before when we've been speaking to one off camera, and he's gone like, "Oh yeah, I'll ring." Someone will ring me and go, "Oh, he's a handful, him. He has to have a rub down every session for this. He has to have strapping on every session or whatever it is." Right, I want an honest answer on this one. You don't have to name names, but I want to hear, and so does Johnny D on Instagram. What's the worst changing room prank you've both seen or been a part of? I'm going to suggest Watto's will be worse than yours.
Mate,
growing up with Barnsley.
Mate, there's some bad ones, but I mean, are we able to be very descriptive?
Go for it, Watto.
Okay, I'll be very blunt and very succinct.
Why change the habit of a lifetime,
exactly.
mate?
I know not of only one player, a few players who would shit in somebody's toilet bag.
What, training or a match?
Well, probably both, but training ground 100%.
I mean, who's even cleaning that out? Or would you just throw away the bag?
Well, I would suggest the bag's gone, innit?
This is honestly, I know somebody who has when we got to an away fixture, you get to the hotel on the Friday, the night before the game, and you check into the hotel, and then everybody gets their room keys. One of the players made sure he was looking at what room this like guy was in, basically.
That's stag do behaviour.
So he's fine. He's looking at the keys and he's going, right, so he's in room 245, right? He's in room 245. I remember that. Okay, I remember that. Because he's got a bone to pick with him, basically. He needs to get him back. It's payback time, right? Room 245. Everybody goes for dinner. He makes sure he is the first one to finish his dinner, and he's up and out of the dinner room as quickly as he possibly can. Straight to reception. I've lost my key. I'm with the football club. Can I get room 245? Yeah, no worries. Here's 245. What's the name? Boom, got the name. Doddle gets into his room. I know for a fact somebody has done a shit in a pillowcase, right? And has turned the room upside down as well. I mean, lifted everything.
What, is in the pillowcase and just like put it back neatly?
Yes, they have, yeah. But then they've tipped the room, telly's over everything. Not like broke anything, but they've made it so that they've got to put it all back together. But they've shat in a pillowcase.
Name names?
Nope.
I've got a couple which I've heard on the first hand over the years. One was player A ringing player B, and it was, can you get done on the drug test if you drank someone's piss and they'd had drugs? Right?
If there's traces of it in their urine.
And player B had gone, you're a moron, but no, you'll be okay. And then
why is he drinking their piss?
Why is someone having a shit in a pillowcase?
Weird.
And then the other one I've heard, this is a big club, someone pissing in someone's protein shake.
Oh, that's naughty.
Bad
isn't it?
one.
And
Bad
that's
one.
first hand I've heard that.
I draw the line at bodily fluids. I do.
Yeah,
I think
no.
if you're doing a number 1 or number 2 in any of my stuff, or if anywhere near me, I don't agree with
Have
that.
you ever been the victim of a prank?
No, not really. Only the usuals of somebody cutting my jeans or cutting my t-shirts or my shoelaces or putting deep heat in my pants or something. They're just run-of-the-mill standards.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd have reacted if somebody had a dump in my wash.
Nah,
bag,
bodily
to be fair.
fluids, mate. I draw the line,
Yeah,
what's I?
yeah.
I draw the line.
There was a comment a few weeks ago about, I think it was maybe a bit of research or something. We got a stat wrong and someone went, how hard is it, lads, to get it right? You've got about 12 people on the production team.
No, we haven't.
Right, Ben, we've got a business, right? But in terms of the actual shoot and what we do, can you clear it up for people who's involved?
So
how many people
For
are
example,
involved?
we'll have a football filling shoot and we'll have 4 people on the sofa for football filling and we'll have 2 camera people in the room. 2 camera people, that comprises of somebody making sure cameras are all running and shooting and all nice, everyone's in frame, and 1 person on sound at that moment in time. And that is it. For the Fozcast right now, we are recording. There's 3 of us on this table here. We have got Jamie behind the wall,
That's it.
just over there. He is looking at everything right now. And we've got 2 editors in the room next to us there working on something else. There.
Yeah.
Luke is probably editing
But
the football
we don't
film
have
right now.
like somebody sifted, like I will write the show, so to speak, won't
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
But we don't have a team of like analysts pulling out stats.
We all have to go away at the weekend and we all have to come in with our own sort of knowledge of what's happened at the weekend, whether it's looking at social media to find out a few stats ourselves, just writing them in our notes, but we all do our own stuff, so we don't have somebody feeding it to us like a Sky Sports would, for example.
Right, there's one here that's come in and it's obviously from a Man United fan. So this is shot the day after Man United Arsenal, United winning 3-2, and they've put, lads, want to hear what your thoughts are after months and months of berating Man United, this, that and the other. Have you changed your tune yet? I'll quickly answer that one. It's 2 games. Relax.
No, it's good to. I like to see them back though. I like to see them
Yeah, of
winning
course.
games again. I obviously playing for the club. I still have a bit of an affinity with Manchester United, and I like to see them doing well, especially when it's someone like Michael Carrick as well in charge of it. I like Michael Carrick, and I think he deserves to be given a little bit of a go at it as well. So it's nice to see United back again and ruffling a few feathers in the title race.
We want the big. Listen, we all love an underdog, but we want the big clubs playing well, don't we? It makes for a good league, like at the sharp end.
Well,
of
we've
it.
got 3 teams now. We've got 15 games left of the Premier League season. We've got 3-horse race, and 3-horse races towards the end of the season are brilliant. That's what we want. We don't want somebody running away with it.
No,
so
and,
that's good to see.
and if you're a Man United fan, you want your team to be back up there. Man United were what the Premier League were founded
Yeah, it
on,
was.
really, you know what I mean? So for them to have a chance of getting back up, but what Michael Carrick's done is just put smiles back on people's faces and let them have a little bit more freedom and said, that's what I'll give you, but you give me 100% every match.
If you put confidence into players, right, their levels go up from 6s and 5s out of 10s to 8s out of 10s and 9s out of 10s. That's how important it is. We talk about the mental side of football. The mentality is everything. Yeah, you can be a Rolls Royce, but if you have not got the right driver behind the wheel, you ain't going to get a good tune out of it.
A good analogy, that, mate.
Thank you.
What's the strangest thing you've seen a player get into after football? So post-career, either a job, a career, a hobby.
I've seen a few players get into all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Do you
Yeah.
remember Liam Ridgewell? He got into
Yeah.
shorts, didn't he? Do you remember?
Shorts as in
like,
what?
As in like beach
Oh,
shorts.
swim shorts, yeah.
They're actually really quite nice, to be fair. Yeah. Thomas Royal? What? Oh, I have plucked that from nowhere, by the way.
Richie's absolutely
Yeah,
buzzing, by the
they
way.
were
Mate,
called
yeah.
Thomas Royal. They were
He sent
lovely
you a few
shorts.
pairs, did he?
Yeah, he did. But no, I bought a few as well, to be fair. They
Nice.
got like a blue band around the top. They were really nice shorts, real nice quality. Remember Scotty Dan?
Yeah.
He got into like a coffee company, like a subscription one where you could send off and they would send you like the little filter
Yeah.
and beans and all this kind
Al
of
Robson
stuff.
Carnew's been on. He's turmeric shots, hasn't he? Sold half the company.
In
I
fairness,
think.
he's probably the most successful footballer after football.
Nah,
Has to be.
Matteo Flamini.
Obviously,
Flamini, yeah,
but
but-
that's different
yeah.
levels completely, yeah. But in terms of like somebody that made a career at sort of West Brom, and do you know what I mean? That's some going, isn't it?
Do you know what I reckon we should do? I reckon we should do a Fozcast episode, Watto, on a whole episode on where are they now?
What are they doing?
And we look at real quirky ones. So we do a load of research and pick out maybe 20 of the quirkiest.
Yeah.
Where are they now?
It'll be a good show.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, because there's some standout positions out there, and some of them have done them. I mean, when I was starting my career, all the lads kind of finished and always went into insurance and stuff like that. Odd people who go and be a postman. But like now, because of the money, you can start a bit, well, not necessarily money, but you can start a business. You can start being that entrepreneurial type.
Yeah.
And I think some of the jobs you would actually find for some of the guys would be phenomenal.
The thing is, you need to have something after football, right? It's all good having all this property empire and you can just rely on rental income and all that. But essentially, you leave that stuff to the pros to sort out and do, and the income just comes in. You haven't really got to work for it. It's all done. With a business, your own business, have something that you're really interested in. That's what gets you out of bed in the morning. That's what gets you out, and you're worrying about this, and you're looking at facts and figures and finances and employees this and working with that company there, and it's hard work. It really is hard work, but you need that to get you out of bed. Like, we buzz off it, don't we? Like, sometimes we pull our hair out on a Monday morning and think, I can't be asked to do a football fill-in today. But gets you out of bed and you buzz off it.
But this is probably one of the most unique ones, isn't it?
I'd say
You'd
so,
never
yeah.
thought you would have gone into this realm yourself.
No,
you know what I mean?
not,
So
no.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes you've got to like pinch yourself a little bit. Because like yesterday I was at the little fella's football, and one of the dads goes, "Oh, what are you up to for the rest of the day?" And I was like, "Oh, got home and I got to watch the football today." And he's like, "What do you mean? Got to watch the football? Oh, it's tough life, isn't it?" And I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's cool.
Oh, yeah,
it's wicked. But there are some days where you I don't want to watch the football.
Yeah,
I want to go to the pub or something. Do you know what I mean?
You're not wrong. Watto goes to the pub and watches the football.
yeah, that's the best
Yeah,
combination.
but you can't watch it properly, can you?
No.
You know when you've got to actively watch it?
Mate, I have got the worst attention span
You have.
in the world,
Yeah, you
honestly.
have.
I can't sit still for more than 10 minutes, mate. So I will be making dinner when football's on. I
Yeah.
love Sundays, in fairness, because I get to potter about in the kitchen, making dinner whilst the football's on, and you can have a sneaky little drink as well.
Yeah. When you talk about running the business, like I come round to yours last week and I've got like my list for Ben. It's like 7 or 8 things, and I'm thinking like, right, if I can get half of them boxed off,
Yeah, I can't sit still enough.
We're flying.
I
So
can't
we'll
sit
sit
still
there.
long enough,
But we
honestly.
did like the invoicing stuff, didn't we? And
Yeah.
I was like, that was a big tick for me.
Big
I was
tick,
like,
yeah, done. Weight off your mind, isn't it?
yeah, and I
'Cause
had like 40 minutes, and you were like sat down and you were concentrating.
we've all got our skills, Tom. Your skill set is completely different to mine.
That's
You're
true.
very good at being organised and sorting through stuff and patience and making sure all the little boxes are ticked. I'm the flair.
You're the talent, mate.
Yeah, you're the talent, mate. You're the talent.
I'm what's that Streets Never Forget guy? QPR.
Adelta Wrapped,
Adelta
yeah.
Wrapped, mate.
Yeah.
I come in and I've just come with gold, and then I'm in and out.
I'm Lee Catamol, you're Eden Hazard.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah,
And I mean that
Catamol.
like industrious, hard-working.
Granit Xhaka.
Yeah. Jumping in with a crowd.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. One thing you learn in this job is that everyone has got an opinion. The amount of times I've heard a commentator say, the goalie's got to do better, or he should have saved that, when in reality, I want to know why he should have done better and how he should have saved that. That is why I think we need more goalkeepers as pundits. I want to get into the fine detail as to exactly why that ball has gone in the back of the net. But every now and again, there's somebody who gets it right. And if you're listening and thinking, that's me, then prove it with Coke Zero's new challenge, Guess the Goals. All you've got to do is grab a Coke Zero, scan the QR code, and guess how many Match Week goals are going to be scored in total. If you guess correctly, you'll be entered into a prize draw with 1,000 official Premier League footballs to be won every week. Grab a Coke Zero and play Guess the Goals today. T&Cs apply. See coke.co.uk/PLGoals-terms.
What's the funniest training ground bust-up you've ever seen? Have you ever seen anything kick off for the most pathetic reason?
I had a good one. Quickly, let me do this one. I've got a great one, actually. It was at Watford. It was Adrian Mariappa. And who was the big guy?
So Luke's in the other room laughing.
Big centre, Prodel. Seb Prodel. Yeah, they had a little right fight in training once, out of nowhere. It was
Adrian
it was a
Mariappa?
B squad training session, yeah? So basically, the players that didn't play on the Saturday, they were doing a training session on the Sunday, and tempers always flare on this Sunday. Always, because you haven't played, you're miserable, you're not getting a chance.
Don't want to be in.
Don't want to be in. And it was probably middle of winter, and everyone was miserable and wet and cold. And you get little nasty niggles and tackles and stuff like that. And one of them has done it to each other, and mate, fists were flying.
Really?
Yeah.
Like proper
It was the
fisticuffs?
talk of the training ground, because two of the mildest, nicest people.
I was gonna
you
say,
could
Adrian
ever come up-
Mariappa.
loveliest man in the world. Seb Prodel, loveliest man in the world.
They both can't be the loveliest man in the
Gentle
world.
giants, but they had both reached the end of their tether. Of
Was it
whatever
about anything
happening.
particular? Just
No, it was a little bit of a late tackle or something like that, or maybe like getting up, you like elbow him a little bit, and that was it. Boom, fist fight.
Do you reckon Adrian Mariappa come on the Fozcast?
Yes,
I'd love to have him
Maps
on.
is the boy. I love Maps. I love him.
Yeah. What about you, Otto? Have you ever seen a daft one?
They're all daft because they're over nothing. It's very rare that like you've got two of the guys in the dressing room who really are so pent up against each other that you know it's coming for weeks and months in advance. Normally it's the little things. One of the funniest things I saw at Southampton were actually little Cedric Suarez, the right back, squared up to Big Praise.
No way.
Why would you even think that that's possible? But somehow, I don't even know what happened. But yeah, he's at him, and like Fraser's like, what, mate?
I mean, you've got to give him credit. That's his game, isn't he? Fraser is swatting him like a fly.
He's half his weight, Cedric Suarez is. Literally
Yeah, he's gotta
half
be.
his weight. Fraser's like 115 kilos.
Exactly. But I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, the one thing I do remember about that guy, he smelt the nicest guy I've ever smelt in football.
Cedric.
Yeah, he must have bathed in whatever he bathed in.
Who else did you say smelt unbelievable? Striker, Pella.
Pella. Oh,
Pella
man,
at
yeah.
Southampton.
Incredible.
How handsome was Graziano Pella?
A good-looking boy, yeah.
Oh, what a bloke.
Top 10 footballers we fancy?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, we're kind of running down on the top 10s now, aren't we?
Oh, he's got to be, mate.
Yeah, he'd be right up there.
Right. Does your agent get paid directly from the club, or do you pay him?
It's really quite intricate now, to be fair. They've changed how it all works. Basically, the club pay him. They normally pay him a 5% fee of whatever the player's contract is per year. So say if I'm on £1 million this year, right, he will get paid 5% of that from the club, right? But then I have to pay the tax on it. I have to pay HMRC the tax payment on my agent's fee, because he is a benefit and kind to me. He's acting on my half. So I have to pay the tax, which would be whatever tax would be on that
Chunky on some of your
5%, which is quite
contracts,
chunky, yeah. So I pay that tax on it, basically, yeah.
So you're involved with an agency now, Watto, with Goalkeeper Supremo agent, Super Agent Richard Lee.
Yeah.
Doing a sterling job for him, I hear. Do agents, as a general rule, earn their crust?
I would say now in the modern age, yes. But ultimately, I always put it like this. If I'm working with a Ben Foster and he produces what Ben Foster produces, the work for me, I'm not an agent, I'm a mentor type figure and a consultant, but the work for the agent is very, very easy, because his performances and what is generated means that there's probably 6 to 8 teams would be desperate for his signature. Where the real hard work or the work becomes is when Ben Foster's coming to the end of his contract. Maybe not that you're a free transfer and you've been in the Premier League 10 years and every Premier League team want to buy you. When you may be a free transfer, or you've got a year left and you're at League One or a Championship club, and the pathway's not been so great, and then you've got to stimulate a move. And I think it's having the powers of the connections and the contacts to stimulate things with goalie coaches, sporting directors, managers. That's where it's important. But when somebody's at the very, very top of the table,
it must be a doddle.
It's quite easy.
It's
for
just
an
about
agent.
basically drilling down, making sure you get the best deal for that player,
Yes,
and
for
making
sure.
sure you are getting every bit of worth out of it. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of the old adage of you can't flog a dead horse. Like if you get a prime racehorse and then you've got one on its last legs, it's a lot easier to flog the good prime racehorse.
Yep. Right, before we go, Ben, we are doing a bike ride in June with Cure Leukemia. Do you want to tell the
yes, we
audience
are.
just a little bit about
We're
it?
doing London to Paris, beginning of June, 4 days. It is a fantastic event. We've done it a couple, 3 times ourselves already. It is just such a great event. We're going to put a link in the description down below if you want to, 1, join the event, or 2, even if you want to just donate. That would be fantastic. Fantastic charity, Cure Leukemia is. But the bike ride itself is honestly, Watto, it's like a stag do on wheels, right? You're riding about 70 miles each day, 60 miles. You ride to the destination, you're stopping on the way, chilling, taking in all the beautiful scenery. Then you get into the hotel, have a few pints. Everything's taken care of. Have a few pints. Wake up the next morning, rinse and repeat. It's
There was
brilliant.
one guy last time we did it, and he had like 12 pints. He got a bit excited on the first night. Done about 70 miles, had about 12 pints. He spent the whole of the next day in the back of the van.
Yeah, in a van.
Following the
he
group.
set off on his bike, and I was talking to him, going, mate, how are you going to get through today? And he was like, I'll be all right. I'll be fine. Literally, we took off. 10 minutes later, he went, nah.
He wasn't all right.
Nah,
he
come
wasn't
on,
fine.
that'll do.
Oh, well,
Game
he's
over.
not a man built like me then.
Nah,
No,
mate,
exactly.
we need an absolute stallion like yourself, don't we?
Right, next one. Who's the quirkiest player you've ever encountered? And what I mean by quirky is probably the least footballery, that maybe just has their own ways, not runs against the grain, but just a bit different in a positive way, you'd say.
That's a very, very good question. I mean, I've come across lots of footballers that didn't necessarily love football, but would apply themselves and do everything around it. But the real quirky bit where they just want to do something really random or different, not particularly. And I think it's the rules around it wouldn't allow it. I mean, I knew guys that would have loved to get out on a motorbike or go out skiing or jet skiing or things like that because they've got that outdoor element in them, or rock, something crazy. But no, not really. I think that the football actually keeps it within you. I'm not saying that when they go on holiday, I've heard of the old story of somebody doing the water skiing or things like that and unfortunately doing some damage. But no, not really. I haven't.
Yeah, I've had a couple who aren't necessarily the ones that are trying to watch football. They ain't trying to watch football. Do you know what I mean? They're happy playing it, and that will be about it. Craig Dawson. They ain't trying to watch football. Yeah, they're good at what they do, but that's it. The part that drives them is being competitive and pushing themselves every day. Blah de blah.
How much during your career did you socialise with players? Like how? I think everyone thinks it's like a big group of mates and stuff, and I think that obviously there is an element of that, but it's like anyone you have. Do you treat them as workmates?
Yeah, a little bit. I think the foreign players are better at socialising because they've obviously come in from a different country or a different club, and you find your groove, don't you? You find your little clan. So you have a lot of Spanish players. If you've got 3 or 4 in a football club, they will do a lot together. It's good for their wives, obviously, to get together, all speak a native language. It's a lot easier that way, and they do socialise really quite a lot. Spanish are actually fantastic at socialising.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the most sociable?
Spanish. By far. Spanish are incredible. But then you can bring even the South Americans into that because they all speak the Spanish language.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Mexican player,
kind of like Hispanic
or Costa Rican,
type.
they will all congregate together
Who's
with
the
Spanish
least sociable boys?
Most of the time it's the English ones. Genuinely.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they've all got their lives
they've got their own
outside.
things. They've got the phone and their life is on their phone, and they'll have all their mates and that, especially if they're a player from that area. They've all got their mates, so they just want to finish training and go and see their mates again. One player that does spring to mind a little bit, actually, Carlos Tevez at Man United. He used to hate training, hated it. You'd get him on the pitch on a Saturday, right, and he was unreal. Like that front three, him, Rooney and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But training, mate. The reason why United didn't sign him was because he just didn't like training. Like you had to wheel him out. You had to, come on, mate, we'll get through today. And at that moment at Man United, it wasn't that. You were going out to training, you were putting your life on the line, and he didn't fit within those boundaries. So when Man City came in for him at the end of that season, I think it was a no-brainer. He was gone.
Is there a real danger for players that, like, look at Man United actually? Young players that have come through like the academy and whatnot, because you've seen in recent years Marcus Rashford go off the boil, Brandon Williams, it didn't feel like it was right for him to live in the city that he was from. Is there too many distractions sometimes when you're from that city, Watto?
Yeah, I think for sure there can be, because you've got your friends and the social element, and I think that's where the English find it more difficult. We don't like to say no or stop. So the Spanish will go out for a nice meal and everybody's together. One glass of wine, everybody's happy. We go out as the English. If you go out, it's like you've had your first beer and that's
Boozing
it.
culture's different, isn't it?
Tastes nice, doesn't it?
It's a full dayer. So I think that is different. But going back to the quirkiness thing, I think more players now that I saw towards the end of my time in the coaching are probably wanting to do intellectual things. They're wanting to do degrees, law degrees and university things outside it. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but that's probably as quirky as I see it, because they seem to go down that pathway and focus on an afternoon of educational stuff.
Players are so much more professional now than even 5 years ago, even 10 years ago.
No, the world's a different place now, for sure.
Couple more questions for you. What's the one thing from football past you could bring back?
I would bring back no VAR.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think it's ruined football.
Yeah, no, I think I would 100% concur with that. But I did like the old players' bar after a game.
Players' lounge.
Yeah, the old players'
was it like boozing back in the day when you were
Yeah, of course.
like proper? Like what? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, no, proper. Like if you're on the away bus, you'd get 4 or 5 cans and take them back on the bus and have a few. And if you'd had an home game, get up there, have a bit of a chit chat, and away you went.
When I was at Birmingham City, right, we were on the way back from an away game on the coach, and we were on the M42 near the training ground.
Yeah.
And the motorway, they had an accident and it was shut. And me and guards, we were sat there. I think we had won because we were all buzzing.
Craig
Yeah,
Gardner.
and do you know why I remember that? And I don't care what you're going to fucking say. I were the only member of staff or senior member of staff, and I were in charge. And these fucking numpties wanted to go off to the services and get a beer.
Yeah? We were on the coach,
my
We were on
God.
the coach, and we'd just won, so we're all buzzing, right? And we're stuck on the motorway, mate. We're looking on our phone, and it's like, motorway's closed, mate. There's been an accident. We're going to be here for hours. We're going to be here for hours, right? And I looked on maps on my phone, right? And I saw a motorway bridge behind us, right? But the Durham Ox was just there, wasn't it? Literally, you
Nice little pub.
You had to get out of the coach, walk onto the hard shoulder, but it had all stopped anyway, so it was all safe, right? And then walk up the embankment, get onto the motorway bridge, and the Durham Ox was there. It was like a 5-minute walk, if that, right? So I said to the lads, lads, right, if we go to Durham Ox, I could just give them some money and they could just give us a load of beers, yeah? If I'll take a black bin bag with me and we'll go and get a load of beers from the Durham Ox and we'll walk down, right? Went up to Watto and I said, Watto, a few of the lads want a beer, so the Durham Ox, I'm just going to walk there. And Watto, no, panicking,
Mate, honestly.
And I know what you'd have said. Oh, fucking grow up, Watto.
Mate,
Mate,
panicking,
honestly, it's the worst scenario. Probably one of the worst scenarios in football. That I'm
Really?
thinking, yeah,
Genuinely?
I'm in charge on the fucking bus, and he wants to get everybody a beer, and we go walk down the
house
arch
with him. Everybody else had got
Yeah,
off.
they're all
Every-
stayed in London or
Would
somewhere.
he have done that if the gaffer was on?
Would he fuck?
No chance. Absolutely zero
Bullying me.
chance.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
We knew we could mould Watto a little bit, all right?
So where was this at Blues?
This is at Blues.
So who was number 2? Big Mike Taylor,
Big Mike Taylor, yeah.
and Colin Doyle. Colin
And
Doyle.
Doyley. Oh, Doyley was eating the beers, mate.
Oh, Doyle would have
So the
been.
beer, Doyley, yes. So
And you
anyway,
got Craig Gardner.
yeah. So we walked up, got to the Durham Ox, right? Motorway's closed, brilliant. Got a bin bag full of bloody beers and bottles and all this kind of stuff. Clunking our way back down. Walk down the bridge, walk down the embankment, mate. Cars start moving in front of us. I'm like, oh my God. We sprint back, get onto the front of the coach. Watto is there, red, seething he is. Look at this. And I'm like, mate, we got it just in time. We literally got there just in time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Made our way to the back of the thing. We were back at the training ground in about 5 minutes, weren't we?
Exactly. A story never to be told, I thought.
Fuming, you were absolutely fuming. We didn't even get to drink the beers.
Well, we were professionals, weren't we?
We were, mate. We were. But yeah, that was a good one. That was, to be fair. Walking up the embankment, in our Birmingham tracksuits.
Not me, mate. Sat at the front of the bus with my eyes shut.
la 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 la.
I think we call it there, lads. But by the way, we were saying about him, Germany, the Euros. Is that the closest you've been to like being back in a football club?
Oh,
like that
great.
tour of the Euros?
Oh, great, wasn't it?
Great,
Honestly.
wasn't it?
Well, it just brought the memories flooding back. Like a pre-season tour.
Well done, lads. Really appreciate that. And you lot at home, as always,
Yeah.
coming up clutch with all the right questions, all the good stuff, all the topics to talk about, because that is what makes the podcast. It genuinely does make the podcast, and we really do appreciate it. Lads, brilliant.
Yeah, sorry for the brutality.
Up
Yeah.
the Fozcast.
And the potty mouth as well. Up the
Up the
Fozcast. We'll see you
Fozcast.
soon.
Come on.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of the Fozcast. Don't forget to give us a follow on Spotify. Up the Fozcast.